outlined in the report is beyond disturbing.
The House Investigative Committee report on invasion of privacy and blackmail allegations against Governor Greitens is out.
Let's call this what it is: a political witch hunt.
This is not a witch hunt, and the committee had no political agenda.
Greitens and lawmakers disagreeing over if the governor got a chance to defend himself.
No standards of evidence were used. No witnesses were cross-examined. No one who was representing me was allowed in the room.
The committee repeatedly gave the governor the opportunity to testify with his version of the facts. That invitation remains open.
We've gone through the report. It's hundreds of pages long. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Reek.
And I'm Jessica Porter. The report includes disturbing testimony we have chosen not to say on air. KMUH's Lydia Nussbaum has spent all night combing through the report, is in the studio with what she found.
Sensitive content warning. Those are the bolded words on the first page of this House Special Committee's investigation report released today. Now, these pages in my hands are only a portion of the hundreds in the document, which includes details of the alleged sexual encounters between Governor Greitens and his former hairdresser in 2015. The woman's testimony in the documents brought some government officials to call the alleged acts shocking and horrific. The governor's former hairdresser spent hours in a room with the House Special Committee. The report also says the governor refused the opportunity to testify. It says he wanted more time to provide his testimony and other key information. Reporting in the studio, Lydia Nussbaum, KOMU8 News.
A public relations firm released a statement on Governor Greitens' behalf just over an hour ago. The statement says, in part, quote, "This was an unfortunate process in which good people, including some on the committee, were left to try and do the right thing and sort through lies and falsehoods without access to the full facts. In the court of law, everyone will have the facts, and these allegations will be proven false." Greitens also held a news conference just after 4 this afternoon from his office, calling the House Investigative Committee's report, quote, "one-sided tabloid trash gossip," less than an hour before it came out. Greitens said the committee did not take testimony from anyone on his defense team, which Speaker of the House Todd Richardson later said he would welcome. Throughout the news conference, he continued to call the allegations against him lies.
This was a private mistake that has nothing to do with governing and shouldn't be about politics. But people are turning that personal mistake into a political spectacle and telling new lies about it.
Greitens said the truth will come out during his trial.
At that conference, the governor called the report a bunch of lies and a witch hunt. But KOMU8 got reaction from both Democrats and Republicans who think otherwise. KOMU8's Jenna Puritz is here in the studio with that reaction.
New tonight, more lawmakers are calling for the governor to resign. Attorney General Josh Hawley, who stayed quiet through most of this situation, said that the report contains shocking, substantial, and corroborated evidence of wrongdoing, and that Governor Greitens should resign immediately. Following this, Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill also released a statement saying the governor should resign and put the people of Missouri first. Earlier today, we heard from Missouri Republicans and Democrats about their thoughts on the report itself.
This was a committee report prepared by some of the most respected members of the General Assembly, who I will note did not make value judgments about the conduct. They simply looked and heard the testimony, did their best job to collect that testimony, and made judgments about what they thought of witness credibility.
According to the reports, Greitens forced the hairdresser on more than one occasion into sexual acts. The report stated he even hit her after he found out that she was still sleeping with her husband. Several lawmakers, including local representatives, have called these acts horrendous and alarming. Some even say he needs to start putting the state first.
First of all, this is not an issue for which we should be playing politics with. This is an issue that there is someone that is here that is supposed to lead our state who cannot do that, does not have the ability to do that, and quite frankly doesn't deserve to do that.
The investigation committee has not made any recommendations on actions the legislature should take moving forward. However, the committee did extend its investigation for another month. Greitens now faces criminal trial on invasion of privacy charges, and that's set to start May 14th. In the studio, Jenna Puritz, KOMU8 News.
Here's what we've seen on social media so far. Democratic State Representative Martha Stevens says she believes the survivor and is calling on Greitens to resign. GOP Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler calls Greitens' alleged behavior disgusting. Columbia's Democratic State Rep Kip Kendrick calls Greitens scum and says he has zero respect for him. A Republican senator said a lot without saying anything. Senator Rob Schaaf of St. Joseph tweeted with no explanation a picture of a fork. This tweet apparently alluded to an earlier tweet from January when the Greitens affair news first broke, when Schaaf said lawmakers should stick a fork in Greitens. If you would like to see the report, and we have details how you can get it on our website, KOMU.com. We also have the full statement from the governor on our website as well.
It's been a busy week for all involved in the investigation, and they haven't been able to talk about it. Yesterday, a partial gag order was issued in St. Louis. It will prohibit attorneys and witnesses involved in the criminal case from speaking publicly about matters pertaining to the deposition and testimony. It's the result of a request from Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner, who expressed concerns Greitens' attorneys were trying the case in the media. Greitens' attorney Edward Dowd released this statement in response, saying the judge said it would be reckless of the State House to release evidence or information without review. The gag order was also issued in part because the attorney for the woman who had an affair with Greitens is accusing the governor's team of a smear campaign. Attorney Scott Simpson says the Greitens team wants to discredit the woman before she testifies at the trial next month. The governor's team says the woman who testified to the House committee said she wasn't sure if she saw Greitens with a camera or phone the day the alleged photo was taken. Greitens' attorneys went on to say the woman testified she thinks the camera could have been a part of a dream. Simpson wants the full transcript of the woman's deposition.
The investigation started months ago. In January, Greitens addressed lawmakers in a joint session for his State of the State address. That's when a St. Louis TV station aired a special report on his affair. Reporters at KMOV said a year of investigating went into their report. The claim said Greitens had an affair with his hairdresser and blackmailed her by threatening to release a partially nude photo. 30 minutes before the report was released, Greitens admitted to the affair but denied any blackmailing. In statements from Greitens and his wife, the couple said they had already dealt with the affair 3 years ago. She said, quote, a few years ago before Eric was elected governor, there was a time when he was unfaithful in our marriage.
The next day, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney announced she would be investigating whether Greitens committed any crimes linked to the affair. In February, a grand jury in St. Louis indicted the governor of invasion of privacy. And on March 1st, the House voted to allow a committee investigation into blackmail allegations against Governor Greitens. Today was the warmest day in 2018 so far, and Kenton says tomorrow will be even warmer. Let's check in with him.
All right, thank you very much.
Kenton, thank you very much. Jefferson City neighbors say more police patrols aren't getting the job done.
And one Columbia community says an intersection in their area needs to be fixed, but they don't know who's responsible. It's after the break. Residents on Ventura Avenue in Jefferson City say the street is still crime-ridden despite the police department's heightened presence. One landlord says people are getting away and moving from the constant gunshots, burglaries, and kids running loose around the neighborhood. The department started saturating its patrols on the street in November. Captain Doug Shoemaker says those patrols have stopped, but police still frequent the area.
I think there were some problems that were alleviated. I certainly don't think that every problem was dealt with fully in that it needed that much more attention. In other words, we were able to lessen our response and still adequately deal with the issues given the patrol response that was already there.
The landlord says things have not gotten any better. KOMU8 reached out to the neighbors on the street, but all declined to go on camera for fear of retaliation. Columbia Citizens Police Review Board is getting concerned about the way people become armed security guards. The deputy chief of CPD said security guards can take the officer's security test as many times as they want. She said they are given study guides to ensure no one is excluded from knowing certain terms which would cause them not to pass the test. One woman at tonight's board meeting said the guidelines worry her.
If it takes someone, 10 times to take the test, then obviously they're not super competent with the firearm, and that makes it a little, less dangerous, or less safe, that they're walking around carrying, something that could potentially end someone's life.
The next meeting will be May 9th.
Two transportation agencies are pointing the finger at each other, saying they're not responsible for an intersection just north of Columbia that's been the site of many crashes. KOMUH Jalen Henderson tells us that's just the beginning. Other crashes go unreported.
By just looking at it, you probably wouldn't think this intersection would cause a community so much trouble.
The intersection falls in two jurisdictions. Boone County maintains Brown Station Road. MoDOT maintains HH. Neither agency was able to tell us who's responsible to hear the concerns.
All right, take a look at the flight forecast for our day tomorrow on our Thursday. You can see we don't have any delays expected at these airports, but very warm temperatures there. A lot of 70s, some 80s as well, even 60 in New York. I'm tracking those warm temperatures for tomorrow and some storms for the end of this week coming up.
Paul Ryan will not run for re-election. Why he's not returning to Congress next year.
Plus, senators from both parties don't want special counsel Robert Mueller to lose his job with their efforts coming up. Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan announced today he is not seeking re-election and will retire from Congress. He says he took the job reluctantly in 2015 when he took over for John Boehner. But Ryan says he has no regrets. He worked hard on the new tax law as a key legacy he'll leave behind. He also spoke about wanting to go back to Wisconsin to be with his family. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg faced a tougher crowd today during his second day of congressional testimony. In 2 days, Zuckerberg answered questions from nearly 100 lawmakers for 10 hours. They pressed him on his company's handling of user data, particularly privacy settings. He was also asked whether the social network had a liberal bias and what Russians did during the 2016 election.
Republican and Democratic senators are trying to protect special counsel Robert Mueller from being fired. 4 senators have proposed the Special Counsel Independence and Integrity Act. The act would make sure a senior Justice Department official would be the only person able to fire him. That official would have it to provide written for a good cause. The legislation would also allow a 10-day window to seek a quick judicial review of firing. President Trump signed an anti-sex trafficking bill into law today that would give prosecutors more tools to fight trafficking online. The bill passed Congress with a near-unanimous bipartisan support. It gives victims of sex trafficking the power to sue internet companies for damages and removes liabilities protections from those companies. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, nearly 90% of the trafficking of children happens online.
Teachers were at the Oklahoma State Capitol today for the 8th straight day in a row. They're rallying for more education funding. One district even held class outside the Capitol. Yesterday afternoon, Governor Mary Fallin signed legislation repealing a hotel-motel tax that originally passed as part of an education funding and teacher pay raise bill. She also signed bills that would replace the money lost from the hotel-motel tax, but teachers still aren't happy. Mizzou softball on the field this afternoon. C1 players' dominant outing next in sports. Dating for charity?
How one group is using date night to raise money in the fight against human trafficking. That's coming up tomorrow morning on KOMU8 News Today. Kenton?
Hey, it's going to be a warm one.
Kenton, we didn't really mean it, and I'll get to that in just a second, but first this story here.
A visit to Chipotle brings joy in the form of a burrito bowl for one Colorado couple. It comes as a baby boy. Jaden did not want to wait, so he was born in a Chipotle parking lot yesterday. He's just fine now, but a 911 dispatcher has had to coach the distressed parents through the birth over the phone. The biggest coincidence of the whole matter, Jaden's parents actually met at Chipotle.
How about that?
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle. For the past 4 months, we didn't really mean all the mean things we said to you.
Now that we're in summer tomorrow, you're good.
Yeah,
we'll see what you say after Monday morning when
It was just his job.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
Good night.